Did Joe Biden really call President Donald J. Trump an idiot?
But President Trump says Russian interference is a hoax.
He's an idiot on terms of saying that. Everybody knows this. Everybody knows it. Nobody doubts it.
First of all, the president does not dispute that the Russians meddled. He disputes the idea that but for the Russian meddling, he would not be the resident of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Time magazine, July 17, 2018. While Russia's actions had no impact at all on the outcome of the election, let me be totally clear in saying, and I've said this many times, I accept our intelligence community's conclusion that Russia's meddling in the 2016 election took place, he said. Could be other people also, a lot of people out there. End of quote. Washington Post, March 6, 2018. In a turnabout, the president acknowledges Russia's interference in 2016 and claims his administration is working to prevent an intrusion in 2018. The Hill, June 1, 2019. President Trump this week acknowledged for the first time that Russian forces tried to aid his path to victory in 2016. All right, so can we knock it off? Let's get back to Joe Biden calling Donald Trump an idiot.
What law school did you attend, and where did you place in that class? And the other question is, could you quickly, I think
I probably have a much higher IQ than you do, I suspect. I went to law school on a full academic scholarship, the only one in my class to have a full academic scholarship. In the first year in law school, I decided I didn't want to be in law school and ended up in the bottom two-thirds of my class, and then decided I wanted to stay, went back to law school, and in fact ended up in the top half of my class.
Top half of his class?
Why would you call Joe Biden what you called him today?
That he's dumb?
No. That would have been a compliment. That would have been like an invitation to the prom. You called him a mentally deficient idiot.
I didn't mean that. I meant he's dumb. I think Joe's last in his law school class.
He wasn't last, but he was low.
Actually, he was second to last, and the guy died, and he ended up last.
Now, let's be fair. Not being number one in your class doesn't make you dumb.
Look, John's last-minute economic plan does nothing to tackle the number one job facing the middle class, and it happens to be, as Barack says, a three-letter word, jobs, J-O-B-S.
And asking a guy in a wheelchair to stand up doesn't make you dumb, unless you didn't know the guy was in a wheelchair, right?
And I also am told that Chuck Graham, state senator, is here. Chuck, stand up, Chuck. Let him see you. Oh, God love you. What am I talking about? I tell you what, you're making everybody else stand up, though, pal. Thank you very, very much. I tell you what, stand up for Chuck.
I mean, the man can heal the sick.
Jesus is still in the healing business.
Now, you know who questioned Joe Biden's mental dexterity, don't you? Barack Obama, his running mate in 2008. Check out this excerpt from the book Game Change. When Biden, at an October fundraiser in Seattle, famously predicted that Obama would be tested with an international crisis, the then Illinois senator had had enough. How many times is Biden going to say something stupid? He demanded one of his advisors on a conference call, a moment at which most people on the call said the candidate was as angry as they had ever heard him. End of quote. But Joe, you make it so easy.
I'm back. I've been here a number of times. Last time was, I think, all the way back in 2014. But I've been here before that. I love this place. Look, what's not to like about Vermont in terms of the beauty of it? And what a neat town.
Joe, you were in New Hampshire. But the good news is you ain't running for history professor in chief, are you?
Just like in my generation, when I got out of school, that when Bobby Kennedy and Dr. King had been assassinated in the 70s.
70s? They were assassinated in 1968.
Hey! What's this lying around? Well, what the hell is supposed to do, you moron?
War's over, man. Wormer dropped the big one.
What? Over? Did you say over? Nothing is over until we decide it is. Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Hell no!
German? Forget it, he's rolling.
Now, technically, we should call this one a willful mischaracterization rather than a gaffe.
It's the only president in our history who has equated racist and white supremacists with ordinary and decent people.
Sigh. Actually, Joe, he said the opposite.
Are you putting what you're calling the alt-left and white supremacists on the same moral plane?
I'm not putting anybody on a moral plane. What I'm saying is this. You had a group on one side and you had a group on the other, and they came at each other with clubs, and it was vicious, and it was horrible, and it was a horrible thing to watch. But there is another side. There was a group on this side, you can call them the left, or you've just called them the left, that came violently attacking the other group. So you can say what you want, but that's the way it is.
On both sides, sir? You said there was hatred, there was violence on both sides.
Well, I do think there's blame. Yes, I think there's blame on both sides. You look at both sides. I think there's blame on both sides, and I have no doubt about it, and you don't have any doubt about it either. And if you reported it accurately, you would say.
Nazis started this. They showed up in Charlottesville to protest.
Excuse me, they didn't put themselves down as you. And you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group, excuse me, I saw the same pictures as you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name. No, George Washington was a slave owner. Was George Washington a slave owner? So will George Washington now lose his status? Are we going to take down, are we going to take down statues to George Washington? How about Thomas Jefferson? What do you think of Thomas Jefferson? You like him? Okay, good. Are we going to take down the statue? Because he was a major slave owner. Now we're going to take down his statue. So you know what? It's fine. You're changing history, you're changing culture, and you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
And then there's Biden's curious habit of lifting large passages from other people's speeches without attribution.
But this standard is not a measure of how we can evaluate the condition of our society. It cannot measure the health of our children, the quality of our education, the joy of their play.
Yet the gross national product does not allow for the health of our children, the quality of their education, or the joy of their play.
Let us pledge that our generation of Americans will pay any price, bear any burden, accept any challenge, and meet any hardship to secure the blessings of prosperity and the promise of opportunity for our children.
We shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe to assure the survival and the success of liberty.
And I started thinking as I was coming over here, why is it that Joe Biden is the first in his family ever to go to a university?
Why am I the first connect in 1,000 generations to be able to get to university?
Why is it that my wife, who's sitting out there in the audience, is the first in her family to ever go to college?
Why is Glenys the first woman in her family in 1,000 generations to be able to get to university?
No, it's not because they weren't as smart. It's not because they didn't work as hard. It's because they didn't have a platform upon which to stand.
Does anybody really think that they didn't get what we had because they didn't have the talent or the strength or the endurance or the commitment? Of course not. It was because there was no platform upon which they could stand.
Anybody can make a mistake, so let's not be too hard on poor old Joe.
A man who will be the next president of the United States, Barack America.
Say it ain't so, Joe. Say it ain't so.
Nobody's perfect, right?
He's a very strange young man.
He's an idiot.
Comes from upbringing. Parents are probably idiots too. Lorraine, you ever have a kid who acts that way, I'll disown you.
That's it for me. I'm Larry Elder, and this has been the Larry Elder Show for Epic Times. I'll see you next time. Say it ain't so, Joe.